expect that the government should begin investigation into this person?
Whether investigation has revealed that?
Yes, I'm asking that because we've seen, videos of, alleged terrorists who've come out to say that they were responsible for killing soldiers and committing atrocities, but nothing was done. The security forces, never investigated that. I mean, as much as we know in the public domain. So I'm asking that in this case, for, a fighter jet of the Nigerian Air Force to have been downed, and we're seeing, statements pointing to one particular person, do you expect that, there will be investigations into this matter?
Well, of course, there has to be serious investigation. When you lose a jet, like the Nigerian Air Force have lost, those things cost millions of dollars. And the life of the pilot was also put at a risk. And we have said this time without number that if the Nigerian security forces had been diligent in the way and manner they have pursued Nnamdi Kanu, in the way and manner they have pursued Igboho, they would have been able to unravel some of these grievous crimes that the terrorists or the bandits have been committing all over the place. But somehow we haven't been seeing much energy being put in that direction, even though the activities of a bandit has more consequences or has more capacity to really destroy Nigeria as a country, as a nation, to destroy the unity that has been our lot since the time of independence. But for reasons best known to those who manage our security, they haven't been paying much attention to these areas. And the consequences is what we are seeing today, that rural banditry, urban banditry have been mushrooming all over the country, such that if care is not taken, these people, those non-state actors, will take over the affairs of the country and then begin to impose their whims and caprices on all of us, just as they have started doing in some of the territories that they now control, in which they collect taxes, levies, dictate to farmers when they can go to their farm, when they cannot go, take people's wife, kill women's husbands, and do all manners of things. So my take is that we need to unravel and then bring more of those who have been undermining the security of the Nigerian state to book.
All right.
And you should remember, this wouldn't be the first jet that has been down. There was one that was said to be lost some time ago, which I doubt whether the aircraft has been found up to now. Like I said, it takes a lot of money and several years of training to train a pilot to be able to fly the kind of jet that we are now using on the.
All right, Mr. Kolawole, in the interest of time, I want you to. Can you hold on, sir?
That is not at war.
Can you hear us clearly, Mr. Kolawole?
We are losing it.
All right, Tunde Kolawole, can you hear us?
Yes.
All right, brilliant. If you can, in a minute, because we need to go, if you can, please quickly speak on the NARD strike, which should start today. The government says they're not aware of any strike notice, but the doctors have decided a few days ago to down tools as from today, Monday. Remember that we're still dealing with, it seems like a surge in COVID-19 cases. What's your response to the doctors going on strike after the failure of government to respond to their memorandum of action?
Please, louder, please, louder.
All right, I want you to speak on the NARD strike.
The
NARD strike, the National Association of Resident Doctors.
Oh, okay. I can see that now. Well, the story I read here is that it is the utterances of the Lagos State Governor, Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu, that has precipitated the medical people to embark on a fresh strike. Well, so far since the man came into power, that is Mr. Sanwo-Olu, he has behaved like a gentleman. I'm not too sure he will deliberately want to go out in there and start precipitating crisis in the health sector. But the truth of the matter is that each time the Nigerian state, whether at the local government level, whether at the state level, whether at the federal government level, had made promises to striking workers, to striking professionals, and reach an agreement with them as to finding solutions to whatever problems they may have undertaken a strike to ameliorate. As soon as the strikes are called off, an agreement are signed, the federal government will never go back to meet its own side or meet its own obligation or fulfill its own side of the agreement. So the workers and the professionals, they are asked to call off a strike. You and I will still know that the ASU people, the academic staff union of Nigerian universities, are also threatening that they will go back to the strike they called off not too long ago. In fact, I think some universities have already started. And this is because all the promises that were made to ASU, the federal government has not fulfilled most of them. The ones they have fulfilled, they have done it in an haphazard manner, such that neither the government nor the striking academicians are able to benefit anything from what the federal government has been able to do. But the truth of the matter is, like I've been telling my my friends who are in the academics, that what they are pursuing is shadow for any Nigerian professional, whether they be medical doctors, whether they be lawyers, whether they be academicians and what have you, to say that the federal government should create an oasis of a conducive working environment for any class, whether they be ASU or medical doctors, is a mirage. They are chasing shadows. What all these organizations should be pursuing is good governance across the board. Without good governance, you cannot have the good university system. Without good governance, you cannot have a medical institution that will be able to pay salaries of its health workers, allowances, and provide the facilities with which the medics, the nurses and the doctors, and then the laboratory people, they will work it. Without good governance and order, there will never be revenue. There will never be resources to expand our health facilities. There will never be resources to build more schools. There will never be resources to provide more infrastructure. So I will want to say with all emphasis, appeal to most of these organizations that look, they should concentrate their efforts on getting good government for the country as a whole, so that all status, all facets of our lives can be properly catered for by responsible people that we can all join hands together to put in government. Look at what we are reading from the papers today. All the major parties, if not all the parties in Nigeria, I want disarray or the other. Even Omoyele Showore's party that came on board recently is now factionalized. There are two factions of the party that are now adjusting for power. And you can say that for all the different parties all over the place. The fate of the Nigerian people doesn't lie in any of the parties that we have on ground today.
All right, we'll have to wrap up here, Mr. Kolawole.
Or it can be gotten from ensuring that we will have good governance across board.
Thank you very much, Tunde Kolawole. We always love to hear your perspective on these issues. Thanks for joining us and for starting the week with us this Monday morning.
Thank you. Have a great day.
All right.
So we'll both be going back to the year 2019 to talk about two stories that made history in the healthcare sector and entertainment.
What we do not understand, we will stigmatize.
What you can see is the remaining of the tanker that exploded.
The suspect equally confessed.
A 500 naira they collect them.
If you don't talk, then go beat you.
Now 2,500 they pay.
Welcome back to the Breakfast on Plus TV Africa. Now let's go back, actually just 2 years ago in history, the 2nd of August in 2019. It was on this day that a boy in India had 526 teeth removed, in a medical operation. The doctors had to, of course, count these, take out time to count the teeth after the surgery. He was found to have 526 teeth inside his mouth. The 7-year-old boy had long complained of having a swollen and aching jaw, and surgeons at it's called the Savitha Dental College and Hospital in Chennai, India, operated and found 526 teeth crammed inside his mouth. He had a well-defined bag-like mass extracted from his jaw, which weighed about 7 ounces and contained hundreds of miniature teeth. Once it was removed, of course, they took out time and counted all of them, 526 of them. The hospital statement did not release the child's name, and of course, he was discharged 3 days later. It also asserts that it was the first ever case to be documented worldwide. And so, of course, there's really I don't think there's any proper explanation as to why that will happen. The worst that we see is people say that they have 6 toes, or 6 fingers. That's the most that we see. Nobody has ever had more teeth than they normally should. 526.
I remember watching the video of the doctors taking time to actually count the number of teeth. They took about 4 hours to count, and they found 526 teeth-like structures in the boy's mouth. The story says that his parents had discovered that the son's right jaw was swelling, or right cheeks were swelling, and it seemed like symptoms of a decaying teeth. And they took him to the hospital, and when they eventually did the assessment, they saw that the doctor said that they didn't really need to drill into his mouth, but they were able to bring that out. And how they were able to explain it, that it was like a balloon filled with teeth-like structures. So it was like a sack in his mouth filled with teeth. I mean, that's amazing. So thank God they were able to remove that successfully. They didn't need to drill, so no construction was needed. And doctors say the boy was expected to recover quickly. So yes, good one.
No bomber will be too tough.
Exactly, right? No shaki too hard.
No shaki will be
Oh my, all right. Do you love Ed Sheeran's music?
I absolutely do.
What was your favorite from his album, Divide? Castle on the Hill, Go Away Girl?
Relax, okay? I don't know which album is Divide. But I know I love a lot of Ed Sheeran songs.
Fantastic.
Well,
it was on this day in history in 2019 that Ed Sheeran broke record. He broke the record today for the most... let's take a look at this, and let's take this very slowly, right? Today in history, singer-songwriter Ed Sheeran's Divide tour became the most attended and highest grossing tour of all time. Now, so there was this band called U2, and he overtook the band as the highest grossing tour, the most attended, after spending 893 days on the road. Quick facts for you regarding this tour. Ed Sheeran began this tour in March 2017. He spent 30 months on the tour, 893 days. He sold 8.9 million tickets. And when we look at Ed Sheeran's tour for Divide, the album, and U2, we see that U2 actually had more people in attendance. For example, in U2's, the average audience per show was about 66,000, but Ed Sheeran's average attendance on a show was 34,000 people. But the good thing for Ed Sheeran was that it was the volume of shows that gave him that edge. So he had a high number of shows, and more people were able to attend across the world. And so on this day in history, he made history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have, it has to be in the record books, because U2 is one of the biggest bands that ever existed. And Bono, just by being lead singer of U2, has become a voice in the world that you cannot ignore. He's been everywhere. U2 don't need to make music anymore in their lives, and they would live, their grandchildren would live and live very, very well. That's how big U2 is. So for a person to break a record, of grossing more money than U2 has, it is definitely outstanding. But like you mentioned, yes, the U2 will definitely have more crowd because they're a way bigger band than Ed Sheeran, is. But I think that also, I'm not sure what year the U2 tour was. I think something else is, the fact that they've also over time been able to expand the ways of marketing these tours. Yes, that Ed Sheeran's album and that period in his career was massive for him across the world. He was maybe the biggest artist at that time. But they've also been able to expand different, ways with which they market these stores, make it easier for people to buy tickets, not just online or on ground. You can also get, other ways or platforms with to get these tickets and fill up a stadium pretty easy. So he definitely, found himself in a better time, and at the same time, found himself with better marketing, than U2 did. But it is still a record that needs to be spoken about. Over and over and over. There's barely any bands bigger than U2. Maybe Coldplay is still not even bigger than U2. Maybe it is, I don't know. But U2 and Ed Sheeran, totally different wavelengths.
Amazing record there, grossing $736 million. All right, that's what we have for you today on Today in History. Let's take a break and begin with our first big conversation about the Nigerian police allegations against Abba Kyari and reforms in the Nigerian police.
For upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Booking November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on PlusTvAfrica.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
God from whom all blessings flow. Welcome to your favorite program, The Moment of Truth, brought to you by the Citadel Global Community Church. Our God is a God of salvation, far above all principality and power, and might and dominion, that regardless of what happens in this season, you will escape. Say to your neighbor, there is no peace for the wicked. The lazy man does not roast what he took in hunting, but diligence is a man's precious possession. Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might.
Moment of Truth with Pastor Tunde Bakare, Sundays, 7 p.m. on Plus TV Africa.
The Nigerian Police Service Commission has suspended Abba Kyari, and that's because U.S. court documents have linked him to self-confessed internet fraudster Hush Puppy. We'll be discussing police reforms and corruption in the Nigerian police with a police reform advocate this morning, Mr. Bosinde Arikpe, who joins us from Rivers State. Good morning, Mr. Arikpe. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me on your show this morning.
All right, let's first get you assess the situation regarding the DCP and Abba Kyari and Hush Puppy, with those court documents linking them and the allegations of corruption.
Well, assessing, if you ask me to assess the situation, I will tell you that that is an everyday situation in the Nigerian police. It's an everyday situation of the officers and men of the Nigerian police. It's just that of Abba Kyari has just been brought to the public limelight because of the internationally celebrated fraudster, Mr. also known as Hush Puppy. But however, that is not to take away the fact that the same officers also do very good jobs. It's just that as they do, when you do 100 good jobs and you do one bad one, the bad one will always come back to haunt you. And that's why we've been on the advising side and telling them that they must serve and ensure that their hands at all times are clean and nothing is linking them to corrupt practices such as that of the suspected cases of the Abba Kyari and Hush Puppy relationship. So I think it's a normal day thing in the Nigerian police. You understand me? If Nigerians are to start giving you details of account numbers they've transferred money to and all of that to police officers for one illicit activity or the other, I'm not sure any police officer will remain.
Well, if you do a good job and you take kickbacks while you're doing that good job, it almost doesn't feel like you've done anything that you should be praised for. And I think we should also get that straight. That for every time that a police officer has to take bribe, in order to do his job, it should not be recorded as being a good job, and I don't think anybody should be called a super cop if your career is tainted with stories of bribe taking and the likes. But I want to speak on the main focus this morning, which is being able to reform the police to a state where we're able to fight corruption in the police force. What do you think is lacking in that regard? Is it lack of accountability, lack of proper systems, or just lack of honesty in the whole police force?
Okay, there's two things I think you should understand before you reform the police. Those of us who are extremely deep into this reform and security activism in the country, there's something personally I have discovered, and I think is correct. Though it's a hypothesis because it's coming from me, it's not yet a fact. But if you reason with me, you may see it as a fact from your end. But from my end, it's a hypothesis, it's just what I'm thinking. Now, what am I saying? First of all, I believe that the current condition of the Nigerian police, the federal government, like it. They like it because it takes away attention from what is happening at the federal level, government level, and puts all the corruption charges on the Nigerian police, therefore leaving the government to breathe. That's one. Two, I want you to know that if the Nigerian police is properly reformed and they are properly of standard and they carry out their job as it should be, as world police, on the standard of world police, I want you to know that the federal government will suffer. Because once our police is no longer corrupt and they are now straightforward, they will now begin to ensure that every corrupt people in government are brought to book. You understand me? So the government will definitely suffer. And I'm not sure Nigerian government has grown to that level of maturity to allow a system to be 100% free of corruption. They will allow that system to still have something they can hold them to. So I would like to hold the federal government accountable to the corruption in the police. Then if we want to reform the police now, number 3, what we will be doing to begin that reform is first of all, to look at their retirement plan. When an officer knows that when he retires, he has nothing to go back home to, and even for him to be able to push the files for his retirement document to begin to assess his pension, which is next to nothing, he still has to begin to bribe the same organization and the same people he worked with for them to enable him push his file for it to get to what he's supposed to get, which is actually next to nothing. Now, when he's on the job, he tries to work for his retirement. And that is what will give account for the huge level of corruption we see. Because the officers are working for both their current job tenure and they are also working for their retirement, because they do not have faith in the retirement system of the police force as well as their pension system. Now, how do you equate this when somebody does not have a hope when he leaves the job? So while he's on the job, he would like to gather everything he can gather. And this is how corruption starts. That is one.
But is that justified, Mr. Arekpe? We understand where you're coming from to say, you even made a statement that you would blame the corruption in the police force on the federal government. And you went on to talk about, these structural issues regarding, lack of retirement plan and all that. But is that a justification for being corrupt?
Now, there is no justification for any form of corruptness. In fact, if you ask me to come down to Lagos, maybe I work with PlusTV, for example, and you ask me to come down to Lagos this morning, and you send me maybe transport fare to come down to Lagos, and I pay the transport fare on my way to Lagos, and I decide to branch and see my brother in Osun State somewhere, and then it cuts into the working time, and then I come back, and then I tell you, I'm sorry, I'm coming this late. I had to spend a day extra. I'm sorry, it was because I had to, if I had taken the flight, I wouldn't have been here. I would have been here earlier. I wouldn't have had time to brand. But because it's a bus, we had a stopover in Osun. I said to go see my brother, and that was why I came late. That is not an excuse. Yes, flight would have been better to bring me directly to Lagos, but it's not an excuse. So corruption is not justifiable by any excuse. It's also important to note that these people are aware of this salary structure before they even enter the force. So corruption is not an excuse. But however, what I'm saying is that when you want to reform something, you must consider all the loopholes. And these things I mentioned this morning are part of the loopholes. Now, when these loopholes are tackled, then you can now say you are reforming. First of all, what is the reform? Reform. It means the thing is in form already, but you want to return it again to a better form. So if you want to make something better, you look for all the excuses that make it not better, which is what I was outlining before you cut in to come. So I am not justifying corruption in any means. I'm not saying that if nobody feeds you and nobody trains you and then you grow to become an armed robber, that is the society's fault or is your family fault. No, an armed robber is an armed robber. What I'm saying is that the society would have been able to do better, and they should do better to minimize people having these excuses. But it doesn't mean if you have it, it's the fault of the society. No. So I do not justify corruption by any means, but I'm telling you, we're talking about reforming the police. These are some of the steps that needs to be taken. Then 2, I said 3. Now 4, moving forward, a lot of people joining the Nigerian police now, we're talking of reform. They are joining the Nigerian police force because there is no job in the country. So they are not joining the Nigerian police force because they want to serve. They are joining the Nigerian police force because they want to make a living. They want to make money, not service, money. The security agencies are places where people go to serve, not with the mindset of making wealth, but with the mindset of service. You understand me? But now people join the police force because that's like the only option they have. They don't have job. They wouldn't want to join, but they don't have job. So let them just join the force and make money. They are aware that the salary is nothing, but let us just join, since there are other ways we can make money in the force. So immediately they join, you see people hustling to be in tactical teams, hustling to be in this place, hustling to be posted to prominent areas, even working their posting, making sure they go to lucrative places where they have options of making extra money. In fact, to most police officers, the salary doesn't matter. It is the extra money that they are now after. Why are they after the extra money? It was because the system was not taking care of them.
All right. So, Mr. Arekpe,
there was no proper plans for their welfare when they retired. Yeah. So now, if you allow me to just round up, please.
Yeah, go ahead.
Now, what they want to do is make hay while the sun sets. But these things can be discouraged. For example, if somebody knows that when I retire, I'm going to take home my first 10 million, 20 million, 50 million when I retire, and then I'm going to be earning XYZ amount for so period of time, you will see that the discipline will be there. He won't want to take bribe of 1 million, even if he's earning just 30,000, because his mind is at the retirement. If I take this 1 million now, it will stop my 15 million when I retire if I'm caught, because they will sack me and I will lose this benefit. It will serve as caution. Now, that's on the issue of the men. Now, maybe when you finish, I see you wanted to say something. So when you're done, maybe we'll now go into the issue of equipment, working and funding, and their expenses and allocations and other things.
Well, so this is what I wanted to ask, because from the problems, that you've mentioned, there's so many of them. There's the retirement, and lack of retirement benefits. There's those who join the force because of, lack of employment opportunities. There's the government itself who wouldn't want a corrupt-free police force, because, of course, that would affect them. And so it almost seems like, you cannot then talk about possibilities of ridding the force of corruption, because these things have existed for a long time. And if they don't change every one of these factors, then we may not be able to, find a corrupt-free police force. But I wanted to ask, just for what it's worth, is there a possibility of still being able to find punitive measures for corrupt police officers? Is there a way that we can reduce the police officers who are likely to take bribe because they know that they will be caught and they will be punished? Is there a way that we can find ways to stop a police officer from collecting, funds from innocent citizens, or locking up a citizen on, with the orders of a rich man? These, little bits of, corrupt practices here and there. Is there still space for punitive measures in the force while these factors that you've mentioned rather exist? Mr. Araikwe, can you hear me? All right, seems we may.
Hello?
Yes, can you hear us now?
Yes, you stopped where you said, I stopped hearing you when you said, is there a way we can stop, minimize corrupt system and minimize the fact that rich people can just give an order because they have a checkbook and then they...
Yeah. So what I'm asking is, innocent people. Yeah, what I'm asking is, with the problems that you've mentioned, which are very, very obvious issues, and they're important that they're faced, but is there a place for punitive measures for corrupt officers while we still have these issues that you've mentioned?
Yes. As a matter of fact, there are so many ways we can stop corruption in the Nigerian police force. There are so many ways we can stop this issue of a prominent person with connection, either government connection or private connection, or having so much money, being able to interfere in police issues and give orders that will make them arrest citizens, whether innocent or not. There are so many ways we can stop them. Now, I wrote to the Inspector General of Police, the immediate past Inspector General of Police, and I wrote to, when Idris was the Inspector General of Police, I wrote to him and I gave him these ideas on how he can do it. I also wrote to the immediate past Inspector General of Police, Mr. Adamu. I wrote to him too, and I gave him ideas on how this can be done. I spent countless days in the office of the PSO, that is Principal Staff Officer to the Inspector General of Police. I spent countless days in this office. I keep going to Abuja. I flew with my money from Port Harcourt.
Can you share some of these ideas with us?
More than 5 occasions, I flew to Abuja, only for them to minute my first time. They minuted the letter to the PRO for advice, and then I had to go and see the PRO. I don't want to go into what transpired there. The corruption is so much. I think DCP Onana is a commissioner of police, and then even Frank Kumba, before he became the police PRO. I've been speaking to him when he was area commander in somewhere Oshun. We've been talking of these issues, that this is how it can happen. I see him as a very smart officer. But maybe when you sit in that level of exposure now, maybe a lot of things change.
Can we share some of the ideas? One of the things
I want to share is this. Now, I may not be able to share everything because I'm a consultant. But some of the basic thing I want you to know is let's borrow a lead from the American police. I have studied them so much, in as much as I do not compare them and the Nigerian police. One thing you should understand is this. The American police had so much corrupt cases too. Years back, decades back. And one of the ways those cases were solved were through public involvement in policing. such as NGOs and associations, as well as a neighborhood involvement in security. Now, when this involvement came, that is how the IACP started, the International Association of Chiefs of Police, that most Nigerian police officers attend every year. And myself, I'm an associate member of that organization in the US. That was how it started. It all started because of the need for the police and the public to have a place where they mix together, where the public have a say in police activities. You understand me? That is what helped the American society. That is why till today in America, people have a say in their policing. Unlike here, where people don't have a say. You can be whisked by the police today, and tomorrow morning you are charged to court, and the court will just send you to prison and keep you for DPR or be waiting to advise. And before you know it, you're already in prison. That doesn't happen there like that. Why? Because of public involvement. Now, what am I saying? I wrote to the police. I told them what we should do is, number one, those of us that are into security activism, we have a lot of us. We have in Lagos, we have my friend. We communicate. That is Shegun Awosanya Sega Link. We have people in Abuja. I am in Port Harcourt and River State. We have people all over the country. Pick us out and let us work with the police. The police cannot monitor the police. Let us represent the police in these different states. And what do? Let our opportunity, we have no power over them, they are carrying arms. But let us be able to interfere in issues that regards members of the public when they make complaint. We are going to work with the ACP Shako-led complainant response team. Even them, they are police people, so there is little they can react. But we are citizens, we are not in the system, so we will be at least justifiable a little. Our actions will be focused a little on the citizens, while also ensuring that the police are doing their job, and when they are accused unnecessarily, we are not going to be in support. But whenever they are properly accused, we will assist the police to mitigate it before it gets to any level. Why did I make this suggestion? On my own as an individual, I've assisted hundreds of Nigerians who had issues with the police, even in the dense south. I have put my life on
Mr. Raipe.
Severally for free.
Okay, Mr. Raipe, can you hear me?
Hello, sorry. Okay, yeah, I can.
Mr. Raipe, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, do you understand how deep corruption has eaten into the Nigerian police force?
Let me tell you something. There's something I wanted to tell you. You cannot go to equity. Equity say he who comes to equity must come with clean hands. You understand me? So when I heard that the Inspector General of Police has suspended DCP Abakari, I don't know if it's the Inspector General of Police. It's supposed to be the Police Service Commission's job, but the Inspector General of Police also has the right.
Yeah, he made a recommendation, according to the news. He recommended that he be suspended. For
Abakari to be suspended. Now, I'm just going to put it in a parable form, and you people should decipher the meaning. It's simple. He without sin should cast the first stone. That's all I want to say concerning that issue. You see, we should stop seeing people as scapegoats, and when they come, we just give them as a scapegoat when we're in position of leadership, knowing fully well that we are all guilty of such offenses. That's what I want to tell you.
Are you making allegations on the integrity of the current Commissioner of Police, Mr. Raipe?
Commissioner of Police?
Yes, Inspector General, I beg your pardon.
Of Police?
Yes.
Well, I'm not making any allegation. I'm discussing with you. So what you make of the discussion is for you. So if you want to make an allegation, you can go ahead. It's a public figure. You can say what you want to say. You understand me? But what I'm saying is that he without sin should have the first one. Now that America, in as much as we are against corruption in the system, the corruption Nigerian police force, this before even the IG joined the police force. You can be part of a system even when you are not corrupt. The corruptness in the system can come and put you in a position where you can't even be seen as not being corrupt, whether you are not corrupt. That is the case of the Nigerian police. Okay. Even someone who joins the police today will be seen as corrupt, not because he has taken any bribe or participated in any form of corruption, but the level of corruption in the system, once you become part of the system, it automatically ropes you, whether you are part of it or not.
So are you then saying that there is almost no answers to ridding the police of corruption if these things that you've earlier mentioned aren't actually taken seriously? Because from what you've mentioned are the things that you discussed with Shegun Awosanya and the likes, you know, it still doesn't take away the unemployment in society, still doesn't take away the, you know, retirement benefits that are unavailable, still doesn't take away the hunger in the police force. So how then, you know, do we get the answers to these questions? And this one thing that I'm hoping that we can find out is when a police officer, some of the things that Abakari has been accused of, when a police officer does, you know, things on that level, who should punish that police officer? Because suspension really would never be the answer.
Okay, now, well, sorry, I've been having a series of calls stopping my communication. Now, let me just go straight now and keep this thing. So, number one, I told you that we as members of the public that are into security should be incorporated into the system. Why should we be incorporated? Because the system cannot help itself. Now, for people that are Christian, this is why God did not say a man that is on earth already should die for the world. He has to bring a child that nobody impregnated a woman. That's what I mean. The police cannot help themselves. It is only we, the public, that can ensure the police is working well. So the selected few of us that are into police advocacy, that are into public advocacy, security, bridging, and all of that, should be involved in the system. In a way, we can represent the public interest in the police force. That's what I was trying to tell you. That way, we can minimize their reaction in corruption towards the public. That's one. And then two, also help the police to begin to bring to bear, still to the public, what they are suffering. For example, I have built toilets for police. I have supported in building police formations. I have repaired stations. I have supported in repairing police vehicles. I have pictures, evidence. I have repaired police vehicles up to the tune of 300 and something thousand for each plus. On my own, as a citizen, because I know that they had issues of fueling, they have issues of bad vehicles. And I took the fame of going around. I talked to Nigerians, come support me. This police station don't have a toilet. And we built a water system for them. Come support me. This police station, their vehicle is very bad. We need to help them. That's the only way they can be able to protect us. And the public listened to me. Why? Because when they have issue and they are arrested anyhow, I normally help them for free. Also,
well, how many more police stations are you going to build? How many more vehicles are you going to service?
No, that's not what I'm saying. You are not getting the point. What I'm saying is that as one person, without any recognition, individually has been able to rise to this point of being a bridge between the police and the public, being able to help the public to be freed when they are illegally arrested, being able to support members of the public to the tune of hundreds on my own without any recognition and influence whatsoever from any part of the world, from any top. On my own as a Nigerian, I've done that. Now, on my own also as a Nigerian, I have been able to repair police vans that are bad, calling on Nigerians, come, let's repair this, building toilets for police. So if we are now officially incorporated into the police force activity as bridge between the police and the public, what we are going to do is that at that point, we are going to have enough strength to assist thousands and millions of Nigerians that will suffer from the police. We'll be able to help them from brutality to corruption issues. They won't be paying for bail. Many things will be able to stand for that. Then from the police angle, we'll be able to carry all the sufferings of the police, such as the welfare package, such as funding and other packages. We will now sit down as citizens and work on ideas on how our police can serve us better and move to National Assembly, make laws, move for these laws. Talk to those public who have been assisting when they have issues. They will now assist us to lend us their voice and we'll be able to peacefully begin to push for proper reforms and proper welfare packages and monitor these welfare packages. When a policeman retires, we will be able to jointly, as members of the public from his community, and we'll be able to monitor that his benefits are given to him. Now, you see, everybody will now become their local police one way or the other. And the police now will be left to do with nothing other than professionalism. While the federal government will understand that every member of the public is now part of the policing, so it will become difficult to corrupt them. Now, it's not that American police is not corrupt. It's just that people are so aware of the policing activities and system, and they are so involved that even when you want to corrupt them, it becomes difficult because the public is involved already. Right, now, we need to move this policing to that level.
Okay. So just quickly as we wrap up, we're focusing on this case with Abakari and his connection to Hush Puppy. What do you expect to be the outcome of this investigation panel that has been constituted to look into the case? Also, How do you foresee this matter playing out in case, if there's going to be a possible extradition of Abakari for him to be tried in this case in the U.S.?
First of all, I'm sorry to say this. I am not in support of anybody setting up a panel to try Abakari. I am 100% against it, and I'm speaking it out. That does not mean he's not corrupt, or the allegations are not true, or they don't have facts. Yes, they may have facts. But what I'm saying is, how many times have Americans extradited their citizens to Nigeria to face charges? Or how many times have Nigerian government or through the police in Nigeria has talked about a corrupt policeman in America, and then Nigerians have gone to tell them, and then Americans have set up a panel to interview their officer, and then repatriate him to Nigeria. Send him down to Nigeria, extradite him to come and face a Nigerian court trial.
Is that right? But I think the difference here is Nigerians and I guess also Americans. You've also mentioned that the American police system have its bits of corruption, but in situations like that, we haven't seen that many, if we're being honest. But if in situations like that, you believe that the American justice system, we believe that the American justice system will. This is the point, sir. This is the point. This is the point I'm trying to make. We believe that the American justice system will take care of that police officer, or rather will, treat that police officer, punish him if possible in the U.S. But we don't have that same fate here in Nigeria. That's the difference. And if we say, we should, not allow, how many times would the U.S., let an American be extradited here to Nigeria? It very much is sounding like, we should protect our own simply because, let's protect ours because it's even if it's corrupt. Also very much sounding like, this is an Igbo man. Don't let, other tribes come and tell you that an Igbo man is corrupt, even if we know he's corrupt. That's very much what it sounds like. So, yes, you may not agree with the extradition process, but what would you expect to play out in this case now that the panel has been set up?
I want us to play out is very simple. First of all, like you have mentioned, America has a good justice system. I hope you know that there are evidence in America that are not admissible in court based on how this evidence are gotten.
Yes, of course.
Are you aware that's America's justice system?
Okay.
Fine. It's a clear evidence. It will indict the person, but because of the way it was gotten, the court will say this is not an admissible evidence. That's what I'm saying. First of all, let's look at the case. Hush Puppy was not arrested with relationship or any connection whatsoever with Nigerian security authorities. He was arrested in faraway United Arab Emirates without any permission from Nigerian government, no involvement. He was now extradited to United States to face corruption charges. And he's facing his corruption charges. And then he is now naming Nigerians that he has done businesses with, and one of whom is Abakari. He's a police officer who is now expected to be participating in such illicit activities. But what I'm telling you is that I am not saying that he's innocent and we should not try him. I am saying that we should build our system and rid our people of this level of corruptness. And I do not support anybody trying Abakari for this particular issue that is coming from the U.S. But I will support any form of trial on Abakari in Nigeria by Nigerians in a Nigerian activity. And until we can do that, let this serve as a deterrent to us so that we can build our system and push for what it's supposed to be until it becomes. But I do not support anybody because America said. I'm not a fan of the Western world or any foreign body coming to become so big to us. No. I believe so much in Nigeria, irrespective of the failures of government at all levels. But if it this, I will not support it.
All right, Mr.
In Nigeria, I will not support that.
Mr.
But I do not support Abakari's action also.
All right, Mr. Bosinde Araikpe, police reform advocate. We thank you for always coming on to share your perspectives on security in the country. Thank you. All right, so that's the discussion there. Quite contentious towards the end regarding where should he get justice or where should justice be served. But I do understand your perspective because when you look at our judicial system, cases can stay in courts for decades. So what really then is justice?
What's the guy's name from Anambra State, who was accused of murdering a boy that her father had to go into a river to check for his body? We spoke about that during the NSAS protest. Can't remember his name now. It was a police officer who was accused of numerous crimes. till today as we speak, and I'm sure till the end of next week and the end of August and the end of 2021, that case would never come up. I just can't remember his name. But there is that case. There's numerous others that kept being swept under the rug and we never hear about them. And that's the reason Nigerians don't have faith in the system. And when Nigerians have some hope that somebody can be punished for their crimes or for some level of corruption, it doesn't matter where it is. If it's in Pluto, let it go, let it happen in Pluto. We will take that same Jeff Bezos spaceship and go to Pluto and get him to traffic corruption. That's the way Nigerians feel about a case like this, because there's pain amongst Nigerians who have suffered from this same corrupt Nigerian police system. And let's not also forget that the crimes that Abba Kyari has been accused of aren't necessarily the Babariga that he sold. They aren't because he connected two tailors together.
Not at all. Let me bring up evidence.
I'll quickly share it. It's simply because, according to the FBI documents, and Mr. Arakpe also needs to understand that the case we're talking about here is not because of what Hush Puppy said. That's not the challenge.
These are screenshots. It's overwhelming. Oh, sorry, Gail. Let me bring out this evidence for you. We're talking about, Hush Puppy reaching out to Abba Kyari, Deputy Commissioner, of Police, and, basically texting him the number of his partner in crime who had blackmailed him. Now, this is a message that Hush Puppy sent to Abba Kyari, according to the U.S. court documents that are now all over the internet. Now, Hush Puppy said, please, sir, I want to spend money to send this boy to jail. Let him go for a very long time. And Abba Kyari, a Deputy Commissioner of Police, replied, okay, bro. I understand. I will discuss with my team who arrested him and we will do something about it.
My point is, the things that Abba Kyari is being accused of, the reason his name is there on the FBI documents and court documents as an accomplice to this crime, is not because Hush Puppy said, I called him.
Evidence says it.
These are from phone records and messages and emails and all that the FBI was able to...
Receipts.
Yeah, exactly. Pull together in the course of their investigation. Same with every other person who is there. They've gone through every single type of resources that were necessary to put these names together. And that is just for one particular case. There's a lot of other thousands and millions of dollars that Hush Puppy was also accused of taking off, people across, the United States and America and the rest of them. But this is just for this particular case. And so it's not, when he says, a lot of evidence, cannot be, put forward in court because I was gotten. It's not because of somebody, singing to the FBI. It's because of what their records show. We would have to, probably just take a break here and go to our next topic. Stay with us. The review of the APC World Congresses in the last weekend. We'll be going through that. There's a lot of, squabbles here and there. Party factions in different states. Some places, of course, had bits of violence here and there. And we'll be talking about that after this short break here on The Breakfast. Don't go anywhere.
businesses in Africa can be very challenging. In Nigeria, it is particularly intimidating, and successful builders have learned how to navigate a hostile environment to unlock opportunities. But one major challenge businesses face is how to filter through the noise and identify where their ideal customers exist. Get insight and practical steps from industry players and captains of industries. Hear success stories to help you make informed decisions as you scale your business in Nigeria. Watch Business Insights at this time on Plus TV Africa.
Great to have you back once again on The Breakfast here on Plus TV Africa. Our next conversation is going to be on the National Association of Resident Doctors, who of course have announced a strike action starting from today. And this is with the failure of the government to respond to their demands after 113 days notice was given. They, of course, had mentioned the memorandum of action that was signed by the federal government, which, of course, once again has been ignored. We're speaking this morning with the second Vice President, NARD, Dr. Chukwujuma Ejiofor, who's joining us from Enugu. Good morning, Dr. Ejiofor. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Doctor.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
All right. Let's start with the details of the Memorandum of Understanding and how far the federal government was able to go with those. The Memorandum of Action, I beg your pardon. Was there any of these details that the federal government actually did, do as they promised?
Okay. Quite unfortunately, the federal government has not kept to any of the promises made. Our MOU has been clear. It's been the same thing for many years, and it's talking about welfare of doctors in Nigeria, resident doctors in Nigeria. By resident doctors, I mean resident doctors, house officers, and medical officers below the rank of principal medical officer, and those not in residency. And so far, the federal government has unfortunately not kept to even one of agreements and understanding. And we are forced to come here again to tell Nigerians this is a peculiar situation. And it's unfortunate again that hospitals will be shut down because the government does not want to take these responsibilities serious. Health is wealth, you say, but it's as if they have other plans. And we're back here again.
Dr. Ejiofor, I want us to get clarity as to what role the announcement by the Lagos State government to stop the enrollment of interns into the NHIS has to do with the strike, because the papers are reporting that that's what triggered the strike. Is that so?
That is not true. The Lagos State government announcement was that of removing house officers from the civil service scheme. And that should not happen. We've even heard where they want to give copper doctors 15,000 naira. And we ask ourselves, what exactly is the minimum wage all about? When you want to pay a doctor 15,000 naira for working for a month? There are so many things. People are crazy in Nigeria. And I don't know why they just want problems up and down.
So what are the demands of the National Association of Resident Doctors for these staff to be paid the minimum wage of 30,000 naira or higher? And if higher, what exactly are you looking at?
No, on that, we haven't even started discussion with the federal government. This is just a new development. Our demands as an institution called NAD has always been about our welfare, about the medical resident training program, and making sure that the act itself, which is a law in Nigeria, is domesticated. Also trying to make sure that we have death in service insurance. Also trying to upgrade the hazard allowance, which has been 5,000 naira for more than a decade right now. It's easy for one to appropriate 30 billion naira plus
for a leaking roof in Abuja, in the House of Assembly, but bring out some little money and pay doctors in Nigeria. It's a problem. It's not frustrating. And we're talking about brain drain in Nigeria. Which doctor would you pay 15,000 naira in Lagos State and you want to stay in Nigeria? We don't have a brain drain anymore. We have a brainstorm. And it's so annoying that I know that one day in this country, people will wake up and you will not see doctors in Nigeria. Housemanship is now being offered in the United Kingdom, where after a year of training, they are GMC certified. What business would our young men and women, our young graduates who are doctors, have coming back to Nigeria? Traveling abroad for any doctor is not easy. You're leaving friends and family. You can't spend Christmas with your family. Your parents die, you can't even come for their burial at night. It's not as if it's easy to travel.
Dr.
Government just doesn't understand this.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, in the 113 days, since the strike was called off, was there any interaction? Was there any reminders sent to the Nigerian government to let them know that none of their promises have been fulfilled? One of the papers this morning is saying that the government is not aware of any strike notice even from the NARD. So have there been interactions in between that were also ignored, just to remind the government that they haven't fulfilled any of the promises in the memorandum of action that was signed?
It's quite a pity that adults, those in government, can actually lie, blatantly lie to Nigerians. And there has been series upon series. I was even in attendance the last one, less than 2 weeks, with the president of NAD, the first vice president, and Dr. Julian Ojomo. And we talked at length, so many things before at times. For example, when the strike happened, that it was discovered that the medical training fund had not been budgeted. In the
all right. We seem to be having challenges with the clarity of picture and sound there from Dr. Ejiofor. I hope that we can quickly reconnect with him. As we keep up with this conversation, from what he's saying, there have been reminders. There have been, interactions with the NARD leadership and the federal government over time, and still nothing was done. And it's pretty much, the same thing, with ASU, with, SANU, with, the polytechnics, lecturers also, and doctors. It feels like it's the same, modus operandi every time, There's some agreement, the strike is called off or suspended, we wait for 2 months, 3 months, and, the strike is called back again because, well, government hasn't been able to fulfill these promises. And it makes you really question, and I hope that we'll be able to speak with, the government, Nigerian government representative here. It makes you really question what the priorities are every time, with the Nigerian government. What exactly are our biggest priorities? What exactly are the things that we, as a country, find, really, really important? The doctors need to be paid higher. The doctors deserve higher, hazard allowance. The doctors need better facilities in the hospitals. And this includes, both the federal and at the state level, because there's also certain states that are owing doctors for, between 9 to 12 months. About 3 or 4 states, that are owing doctors. So it's both on the federal and on the state level that these conversations need to be had. What really are the priorities for the Nigerian government with regards to healthcare? Dr. Ejiofor, welcome back. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can. Thank you.
All right. We apologize. There was some challenges with the clarity there. But go ahead. You were saying that there have been interactions with the NARD and the Nigerian government.
Yes, there have been numerous interactions between the NARD and the Nigerian government, of which the last one was less than 2 weeks ago. And it's all about promises still. This will be done, that will be done, that should be done. And in the long run, it's still nothing. It's more than 100 days since April 1st that the previous strike started. And let us also remember that that strike was called off because a very high-ranking person in the government came to us and said, let me try and see how far it can go. And we called off on that, and because Nigerians were suffering. But we're back there again. And this time around, I think the Nigerian people should ask the government these questions again. Do they want Nigerians to die? Is health not important in a country like ours?
Dr. Ejiofor, can you hear me, Dr. Ejiofor?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you tell us a bit about the Medical Residency Training Act of 2017? What exactly does it say, and why are some states having challenges with domesticating it?
The Medical Residency Training Act is it's a law that depicts the way training of doctors should be in Nigeria, those in residence. It's a page-for-page booklet that explains the workings of the training. And this was necessary because there was so much irregularity in this particular aspect of medical training in Nigeria. So the leaders of doctors in Nigeria, with a lot of medical doctors, called for this act. And this was drawn up, and this has been signed into law. Like I said, in March, this is a law of the federal government. Why can't a law be obeyed? Why can't it? We are at a loss of words at times when you see things go awry and we don't know what next to do, even if it's just a law which is not being obeyed by the same government that signed it into law.
Exactly. Dr. Ejiofor, is it that the requirements there, in that act, are too much or, too challenging for the states to implement? Because I'm trying to find out what exactly is the challenge with domesticating that act that simply says that resident doctors should be treated better.
It's actually a mystery for us. First of all, there's a dichotomy between the federal government doctor and the state government. But this law is for both wings of the government. And it should be domesticated for doctors to be able to, work with that job satisfaction that they require. But for whatever reason, you still have a lot of states being owed more than 18 months' salary. It even goes beyond that because a lot of doctors people pension later in life. These are the problems, and we still don't understand what really is obtainable in Nigeria.
Well, Dr.
With
Ejiofor,
regards to doctors and why we are this bad.
Yeah, we're currently, of course, I guess, in a third wave of COVID-19. Lagos recorded 519 cases yesterday, I believe, and so it should be scary for a lot of people with regards to the health crisis that Nigeria might be getting into if the third wave is not properly managed. What is the fate of people that might be falling ill this period? Is there any help that they can still get in the hospitals while the resident doctors are on strike?
Like I had earlier said, there's no good time for that time. So that's on it. And we are still part of the people, even though we as doctors don't get the best medical attention from our hospital, which we've been crying about for many, many years now. And I think our national leaders need to look at the pledge, the national pledge, and actually read it and imbibe it. You don't come and say, I pledge Nigeria, my country, to be faithful and honest, to serve Nigeria. They are not serving Nigeria. Nigerians are suffering. Doctors are suffering. The people will still suffer. We as doctors, we're still part of the people. Our parents are still part of the people. So it's confusing at times when there's that lack of response and from the government and We keep wondering why. Is it that do they really want people to die? I don't understand this.
Okay.
That's where we are right now. This strike is indefinite. It's total, is indefinite. The government is, and it was preventable right from the very start. Right from the very start. Totally preventable. But you see where we are.
Okay, so what do you think the doctors might be feeling right now, seeing that they gave ample time, 113 days for the government to take action, but they didn't? So how do you think, the doctors might be taking it?
Well, we actually, for me as a person, I can't speak for the other person, but there's that confusion as to what I'm still doing in Nigeria, first of all. But I'm here because I'm patriotic and I want things to work. And the sense of betrayal is just abysmal. And the thought of having our loved ones die because the government has not do the needful is a scary thing. My mother is here in Enugu. She's above 70. If she should contract the COVID now, what happened? Lots of doctors have lost their parents to COVID the last week. It's clear and present danger that the government does not seem to want to understand. Nobody involves critical stakeholders like NAD in policy formation. How can someone say a doctor should earn 15,000 naira in this country? Let's ask ourselves questions. Nigerians should be very angry at this point in time. We are tired of being angry. We've begged, we've cajoled, we've done everything we have to do, and we're still doing that. And now we're on strike once more.
So what would it take for NAD to call off the strike? I mean, you tried it before, you went on a strike, there were discussions, the government, breached those, what they signed, the MOA, and now you're back on strike. So what would it take for NAD to call off the strike?
Quite unfortunately, the decision to go on strike, and we just concluded National Executive Council meeting, it was quite unanimous. And as the National Officers Committee, we have been mandated that everything that we have asked for years must be fulfilled. We're not even so anxious to even talk to anybody like that. And that's the truth. Because you say the same thing over and over again to the same people. You cannot do something the same way and expect a different result. It doesn't happen.
But Dr. Ejiofor, we understand where you're coming from, but just to also put this in perspective, do you know the people that would suffer? Because we're talking about ordinary Nigerians who are just struggling to live above the poverty line, and the politicians whose attention we're trying to get can afford medical care out of the country. So how do you think this strike will really, affect everyday Nigerians?
Well, bear in mind that I am also an everyday Nigerian like you are, and other doctors in this country are also everyday Nigerians like the rest of the people are. It is something that is affecting all of us equally. Nigerians have to speak up. They have to get up. They have to write. They have to go on air. It's not whatever doctors go on strike. They say, you're a doctor, you took an oath. So, yes, we all took oaths. And we said Nigerian pledge every morning. We will learn that as children. Our leader said Nigerian pledge every morning. We're not the only ones that took oaths. Everybody took an oath to make sure this country works. Let everybody put his or her hands down and get this country to work. Health is wealth. Without health, a dead man cannot be asking about salary. A dead man cannot be on TV. We have to fix the health system in this country together. And that is where you have to come out. Even you reporters in the studio, you have to speak up. Everybody has to be on board.
Dr. Chukwujama Ejiofor, Second Vice President, NARD, thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thank you.
We hope that there is more conversations and the government actually steps up to these discussions and takes action where necessary to, of course, prevent further chaos for Nigerians. Thank you very much for your time this morning. Thanks for speaking with us.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. And that's where we wrap up the conversation this morning. We hope that we can, of course, bring you further discussions on the APC and, of course, its ward congresses that took place over the weekend in later editions of The Breakfast. For now, it's goodbye. And if you missed out on any of these conversations, remember, it's simply at PlusTvAfrica on Facebook, Instagram, and our YouTube channel at PlusTvAfrica. And
yes, we also have a new YouTube channel. We can't stop saying that until you subscribe. It's at PlusTvAfrica Lifestyle. I am Aneta Felix, thanking you for joining us.
And I am Osaugie Ogbonwan.
The way your baby's presenting, we have to rush you in. And my partner at the time was like, "You're going to cut her? Are you going to cut her? Is it going to leave a scar?" And I said, "Am I a belly dancer? What is the problem here?"
No, I'm vulnerable about the future of the children, the future of mine and the future of the generation of my children.
I want to have nude pictures taken.
Of you?
Yes,
Yeah,
but
we
without
had
showing my private parts. I want to put it in my front room. And they said, "You can't do that. People will be embarrassed when they came into your house." I said, "Well, it's my body and it's my front room."
All the things that we do, what is the purpose of it?
I just realized that I was more trusting before I was 6.
So many women, they just feel like I have to cook for my husband, I have to breastfeed my children, I have to pick them from school.
Because society expects
Then you
them
go
to.
home and you cry and you stop your career, you can't do anything, then you blame everybody. You took that choice.
Well, many thanks for joining us in Plus News Brief. I am Justin Akadonyi. The Deputy Commissioner of Police, Abia Kerry, will have to step aside as the police investigates the accusation of bribery leveled against him. Kerry has been suspended by the Police Service Commission on the recommendation of the Inspector General of Police, IGP. The recommendation and suspension follow his indictment by the U.S. Federal Bureau of Investigation for bribery. A document released by the FBI indicates Kerry received money from Abbas Ramon, also known as Hush Puppy, who has pleaded guilty to fraud in the United States. Hush Puppy testified it was a bribe, but Kerry claims no money was paid directly to him. He also says the money sent to Hush Puppy wasn't, or by Hush Puppy, wasn't a bribe. Following the recommendation by the Inspector General of Police, Usman Baba, and the commencement of probe by a special investigation panel, the Police Service Commission has approved the suspension of Abia Kerry, a Deputy Commissioner of Police, from service over alleged bribery and fraudulent activities. Head of Press and Public Relations of the PSC, Ike Chukwuani, announced this in a statement in Abuja on Sunday. And he said the Commission had also directed the IGP, Usman Baba, to furnish it with information on development in the matter for necessary further action. And he said the suspension took effect from July the 31st and would subsist pending the outcome of the investigation in respect of Kerry's indictment by the Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI. In an effort to ensure improvement in the security of lives and property of the state citizens, the Kaduna Police Command has paraded suspects involved in various crimes in the state. The Commissioner of Police, AIG Omar Mori, says armed banditry and the surge in kidnapping have caused great havoc to the economy and well-being of the innocent residents living in Kaduna. He says the command rescued 198 kidnapped victims in the period under review, while 300 cases were sent to the Ministry of Justice for legal advice for prosecution, among others.
Armed robbery suspect arrested 69. Number of kidnapping suspects. Number of kidnapping cases reported 47. Number of kidnapping suspects arrested 90. Number of kidnapping victims rescued 198. Number of homicide cases reported 66. Number of homicide suspects arrested 126. Number of cattle rustling cases reported 15. Number of cattle rustling suspects arrested 20. In view of the above successes recorded so far, I wish to call on the good people of Kaduna State as they go about their lawful endeavors to keep to their civic duties as enshrined in Section 24E of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended, by supporting the command with prompt and useful information that will ameliorate criminalities in our communities.
Well, meantime, the Zamfara State Police Command has rescued 2 kidnapped students of the Federal Government College, Birnin Yari, in Kebbi State. Briefing newsmen on Sunday, the Zamfara State Police Commissioner Hussaini Rabiu said that 2 students were rescued in a bush in Barbadoka village of the Maru local government area. That the commissioner said the victims were taken to the hospital for medical checks, that they have been debriefed at the police command headquarters in Gozo. He said the students would be handed over to the Kebbi state government through the state police command. Also, token police matters, the police have confirmed at least 4 deaths and the torching of 50 houses in an attack on Jebu in Miyango Basa local government area of Plateau State. The police say it is the result of renewed clashes between Fulanese and Irigwe youths. The recent attack lasted for hours and had to do with a land dispute, according to the police. Now, Plateau State lies in Nigeria's north-central region, where raids on locals have become common in the past decade. Away from all of that, the Secretary General of the Commonwealth, Honorable Patricia Scotland QC, says they are closely monitoring development around the suspension of Twitter and allegations of repression of the rights to freedom of expression, access to information, media freedom, as well as disregard for the rule of law in Nigeria. Ms. Scotland said all Commonwealth member countries, including Nigeria, have obligations and commitments to uphold freedom of expression as one of the core values and principles of the Charter. Now, this underscores a commitment to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and other relevant covenants, and international instruments. Now, the statement by the Commonwealth followed an urgent appeal by the Socio-Economic Right and Accountability Project, SERAP, urging Ms. Scotland to apply the Commonwealth Charter to hold the Nigerian government to account over the unlawful suspension of Twitter in Nigeria. Now, the Adamawa World Congress Committee of the All Progressives Congress has passed a vote of confidence on the officials for conducting free and fair Congress in the 226 wards across the 21 local government areas of the state. Now, the chairman of the World Congress Committee announced this in Yola on Sunday.
The chairman of Adamawa World Congress Committee deployed to Adamawa State says the advice of the National Working Committee of the party for Congresses nationwide to adopt consensus method is for a good working relationship and unity of APC. Professor Umar Arim Kassel said members of All Progressive Congress in Adamawa State have shown great maturity before, during, and after the World Congress. He, however, appealed to all party faithful to unite as a team in order to reclaim its mandate come 2023.
The mode of election at the Congress. A. Consensus. All party positions prescribed or implied by the party's constitution as above stated for the Congresses shall be filled by democratically conducted elections. As the respective Congresses, however, for peace and harmony, the party encourages emergence of candidates through consensus. In the first instance, that where a candidate has emerged by consensus for an election position, a vote of yes or no by ballot or voice shall be called. It means that where we agree to conduct this election by consensus, we should apply that. Do we all agree? Yes. If there's anybody who decided to say no, then we'll count how many say yes and how many say no.
Secretary of the committee, Theodore Ekeji, says that the method adopted was free and fair. However, he said the party recorded 70% participation of members and party stakeholders.
The registration exercise proved otherwise, that we have a community of APC membership in Adamawa State that have shown maturity and that show so much understanding and so much passion for the love of the party, and that are willing to make sacrifices in order to ensure that exercises of the party go on very smoothly within the state. We don't expect anything different. For the first 48 hours or 72 hours that we have been in Adamawa State, the expectations have been very high and the responses have been very cordial.
With the pass mark given by the Adamawa World Congress Committee, it is left to be seen how that of local and state government will be conducted.
Well, human rights lawyer Femi Falana is accused in the Kaduna State government of filing fresh charges against the leader of the Islamic Movement of Nigeria, Ibrahim El-Zakzaky, and his wife to frustrate their release. Last week, the couple was freed of all charges leveled against them by the government, but the government filed fresh charges against the IMN leader 24 hours later. But Falana, who is the lead counsel to El-Zakzaky, describes the new charges as maliciously filed. He's also full of praise for the trial judge who acquitted his client for displaying exceptional courage and judicial independence. Nigerians are still groaning over the high prices of foodstuffs in the open market as the effect of inflation bite harder. In this special report, we take a cursory look at the issue of insecurity as it affects food production and inflation. Food security is an indispensable prerequisite for the survival of mankind and his economic activities, including food production. Food is different from other commodities because of its inevitability for survival and existence. In Nigeria, there is high level of food insecurity for the past 4 decades as a result of neglect in production when oil has become the major export product.
But recently, more especially with the coming of the COVID-19, which has exposed our weaknesses in terms of diversification of our economy, the need for us to look at some other sectors to boost the economy, agriculture has become a key sector that we should be looking at.
The prices of foodstuff today leave much to be desired. From a recent survey, the prices of staples including gari, rice and beans have almost doubled in 3 months. As buyers lament, the traders attribute the increment to diverse reasons.
Back of Olo to this one, we are selling 57,000.
57,000?
Yeah.
And how much do you sell Olo?
Olo, we are selling 40. 2 months ago, we are selling this one. It's like 47,000.
I just buy like paint 2.8. I think before it was 1,500, 800 Derica no.
The same can be said for vegetables. For tomatoes, although the price has reduced in recent weeks, this buyer says she bought for half the price months ago. For tubers and other root crops, the prices have reduced considerably. While some traders say it is as a result of farming activities, the chairman of the Mount Rough market, Shehu Jibril, believes it is all a factor of demand and supply.
Before we have collected this one 3,305, but now we are selling 2,500 naira.
It keeps fluctuating because sometimes you can get it lower.
Once it is ripe in the farm, we have no option than to bring it to the market and sell. Of course, when you bring to the market, it also depends on the demand of the people at stake in the market. Like if you come to the market, you have a lot of trucks that come with the same product you bring. You may not sell it much expensive than you're expecting.
Farming is only profitable when the result of it is food insecurity, because every home, every family, everyone will want to have something to eat and be well properly fed.
The food inflation in Nigeria has seen food prices rise to double-digit figures, while Nigerians earn less income. The rising cost of food is caused by many factors, but most notable among them is the incessant conflict for grazing space between farmers and herders, which has resulted in fewer farmers going to their farms and less food being produced.
Only security has affected production. But as I mentioned earlier, that's why we are looking at not just food insecurity, we are also looking at boosting our economy through agriculture.
Recently, it was announced that 100,000 small-scale rice farmers have been enlisted to benefit from the federal government's Anchor Borrower Scheme for the 2021 wet farming in Adamawa State. But the challenge of diversion of input still persists.
We need to get to the root of it by identifying the real farmers who must be guaranteed by their local traditional institution. We also have a known person that will stand as a guarantor, and then most importantly, we also visit the farms. We deploy technology, we do job mapping and make sure that we identify the farms, and such farms can be visualized at any time and see the progress there.
The decline in the rate of increase in the consumer price index indicates that the inflation rate in Nigeria might have peaked and is on its way downward. However, it is still worth noting that an inflation rate of 17.75% is still way higher than the 11.02% recorded before the closure of the land borders in 2019.
And to other parts of Africa now, the post of Prime Minister is still vacant, and MPs critical of the president have been arrested in Tunisia a week after Kais Saied took power in that country. Now, fears of an authoritarian drift prompted some observers to express their concern on Sunday. Saied granted himself full powers on July the 25th and suspended parliament, saying he wanted to save the small Maghreb country, which has been plagued by months of political deadlocks and a new deadly spike in COVID-19. Now, Tunisia has one of the world's worst official death rates. In establishing the exceptional regime denounced by his opponents in the Islamist-inspired Ennahda party as a coup d'etat, Saied also lifted the parliamentary immunity of deputies. In this context, several arrests have caused controversy in the last 3 days. 2 deputies of the Islamo-nationalist movement Al-Karama and ultra-conservative party allied to Ennahda were arrested on Saturday night. The United Nations peacekeeping mission in the Central African Republic has recorded 6 civilian deaths in a rebel attack in the country's northeast. The mission says an armed group known as 3R carried out the morning attack against the Central African Army positions in the village of Man. Several civilians were also wounded in the attack. But the situation in the village, which is some 550 kilometers from the capital, Bangui, is now under control. And outside of Africa, U.S. senators have finalized details of a sweeping $1 trillion plan to invest in roads, bridges, ports, high-speed internet, and other infrastructure, with some predicting the chamber would pass the bipartisan legislation this week. The massive infrastructure package, a goal that has eluded Congress for years, is a top legislative priority for Democratic President Joe Biden and would represent the largest investment in U.S. infrastructure in decades. Now, senators said the 2,702-page bill included $550 billion in new spending over 5 years for items such as roads, rail, electric vehicle charging stations, and replacing lead water pipes on top of $450 billion in previously approved funds. It was not yet clear whether senators outside the bipartisan group that negotiated the bill will offer amendments that could pass and possibly upset the delicate coalition that was cobbled together.
I believe the Senate can quickly process relevant amendments and pass this bill in a matter of days.
Really important bill because it takes our aging and outdated infrastructure in this country and modernizes it. And that's good for everybody.
This will keep us going from 5 to 10 years, not just 1 year. It's not just a one blip on the radar screen and we're done. This is for 5 to 10 years, and we can continue to build on it.
I rise today because I've got real concerns with this bill. There are a number of Americans who see that all is not well with the way we spend money.
From the United States to Malaysia, where opposition lawmakers have tried to march on the country's parliament building to demand the resignation of Prime Minister Muhyiddin Yassin after the premier deferred a parliamentary sitting amidst political turmoil. Muhyiddin cited the detection of COVID-19 infections for postponing the final parliamentary session scheduled for Monday, but the opposition called it a politically motivated move to block any challenges to his leadership. Opposition lawmakers marched towards the parliament building on Monday but were stopped by police in riot gear. Opposition leader Anwar Ibrahim said all 107 opposition lawmakers were united in seeking the premier's resignation for going against the constitution and the king's decree and blocking lawmakers from carrying out their duties. Well, let's talk business now. The Nigeria Customs Service, NTA, says 30 out of 65 private airplanes verified so far are liable to pay required duties to the federal government. The Customs Public Relations Officer Joseph Atta made this known while speaking with newsmen in Abuja on Sunday. Atta explained that some of these airplanes came into the country by temporary importation agreement, which allows them to bring the jets without payment because it was secured by bond. He said that thereafter, many of them failed to turn up to pay on the expiration of the agreement, which necessitated the verification. He stated that with this exercise, there would be more revenue to be accrued to the federal government because those who fail to adhere to the agreement would be made to pay the duties. In entertainment news now. Now, plans for a £700 million world-class film and TV studios facility in the UK have been announced by a Hollywood studio. The owners of Sunset Studios in Los Angeles and an investment firm have bought a 91-acre site in Hertfordshire for £120 million. Or subject to planning permission, the production centre would be built in Broxbourne. The government said it was supporting the development of such stage spaces across the UK. Oliver Dowden, the Secretary of State for Digital Culture, Media and Sports, said the new studio is yet another vote of confidence in the UK's booming film and TV industry. And now sports news. Akwa United have been crowned champions of the 2020-2021 Nigeria Professional Football League season after producing a remarkable 5-2 victory over MFM FC in Uyo on match day 37. Charles Ashimene capped a fine performance with a hat-trick and improved his goals count to 18 this season. Akwa United confirmed their intention to win the league after recorded the longest unbeaten run of 18 games. The Promise Keepers have also kept the cleanest sheets this campaign. Now, this is the first time the Promise Keepers will be winning the MPFL title since the club was established 25 years ago. But it is the second time coach Kennedy Baboye will be winning the trophy. He also led Plateau United to win their first league title in 2017. Well, MFM came to Uyo in fine form after FC Ifeanyi 0-2 in Enugu in a reshadowed fixture to consolidate their position on the league table. And now to the Tokyo Olympics. Japan have reached the quarterfinals in the women's basketball following a 102-83 win over Nigeria on Monday in the final pool play game. Saki Hashai scored 23 points as the Asians outclassed the Tigers. Yuki Miyazawa added 19 points for the hosts, bringing it up to a total of 19 three-pointers in the game. Japan were up 30-22 after the first quarter, but Nigeria cut its deficit to 38-36 before Japan scored 13 straight points to take control. Japan led 51-38 at halftime and did not take their foot off the pedal in the second half as the West Africans failed to get back in the game. Nigeria became the latest African country not to win a game in the Olympics. And that's the news brief. For more, please follow us at PlusTvAfrica on Facebook and Instagram, and do subscribe to our YouTube channel at PlusTvAfrica and PlusTvAfrica Lifestyle. I am Justin Akadonye. Many thanks for watching. Plus Sport is up next. Stay with us.
What we do not understand, we will stigmatize.
What you can see is the remaining of the tanker that exploded.
The suspect equally confessed.
A 500 naira they collect them. If you no talk, then go beat you. Now 2,500 when they pay.
Praise God, from whom all blessings flow. Welcome to your favorite program, The Moment of Truth, brought to you by the Citadel Global Community Church. Our God is a God of salvation, far above all principality and power, and might and dominion, that regardless of what happens in this season, you will escape. Say to your neighbor, there is no peace for the wicked. The lazy man does not roast what he took in hunting, but diligence is a man's precious possession. Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might.
Moment of Truth with Pastor Tunde Bakare, Sundays, 7 p.m. on Plus TV Africa.
Welcome on the show. I'm not a particular fan of Monday mornings, and stories
about Nigeria at the Tokyo Olympics are not making it any better for me. Welcome on the show, Plus Sports and Plus TV Africa. My name is Wale Scott. I've got Mukail Tinubu with me on the show. Mukail, before we start the show proper, I was speaking to a comedian friend on the phone yesterday, and the guy was like, village people, you know, when they want to catch you, they come individually. That in Nigeria's case, they come collectively. And he said, we took 58 people to the Olympics. 14 of them are the basketball team. They have not won any match, or they did not win any match at the Olympics. Then 10 players were banned. Then 10 athletes were banned. And then Okagbari complained that the problem is the administrators and not the athletes, but the athletes bear the brunt. The next day she was suspended. And then Adegoke, a medal hopeful for Nigeria, when he had qualified to the level that the medal will come, he got a hamstring. And then the fourth guy that would have actually been he was disqualified for a false start. There's still some good news though, but like my comedian friend said, this village people came collectively. They came to catch them, not individually, collectively, you know. Aqua United, champions of the Nigeria Professional Football League. I want to start removing the professional from the league now. They have won. Now, Mukail, it's not winning the league that is the problem. You know, like I said, it's like an average child passing an exam and is going for a bigger exam, but obviously he's not as good as any of the other students that he's going to be going up against. Aqua United have won. Fantastic. The Nigerian League, fantastic. Where is the league safe? However, we're expecting to see them on the continent. And like I've always said, I'd rather Aqua don't win, or I'd rather Aqua don't even go at all. Because I do not see any of our football teams in the Nigerian League that can go up against any of the regular football teams on the continent. I can imagine Aqua United going up against Al Ahly, or going up against El Merreikh, or Mamelodi Sundowns, or even Super Sports, really.
And this didn't used to be the case.
Yeah.
It's congratulations to Aqua United for winning the Nigerian League trophy. Unfortunately, it just doesn't mean what it used to. And the quality of the league as a whole is no longer relevant enough on the continent to be feared for any products coming out of it to play at the continental level, to be worth anyone putting their money on and putting any faith or support behind. That said, I think we hope, because even though they will most likely not go far, that at least they don't embarrass themselves, they don't embarrass us, because that's the bar now.
Like I said on the show, and I had a whole lot of Twitter critics coming up against me. I said, before the Olympics, way before the Olympics, on this show, I said, I'd rather we divert the funds into agriculture, because Nigerians are hungry.
Before, yes.
You know, yeah, Nigerians are hungry, and not waste taxpayers' money. And I've been vindicated. We have only wasted taxpayers' money. Same thing now I will say again today. I'd rather Aqua United did not win. Or no, let's just leave the league as it is. Because there's no Nigerian team that is going to go on the continent and will not eventually embarrass us. I will be vindicated again with Aqua United. They will go on the continent and they will finish the remaining small rep that we have left. Just watch. Okay, a little good news today, but it's not like it's good news for me though. Team Nigeria's Grace Nwokocha on Monday in Tokyo at the ongoing 2020 Olympic Games advanced to the semi-finals in the women's 200 meters event. Nwokocha ran a personal best of 22.47 seconds to finish third in heat 1 of the event to gain one of the automatic tickets to the semi-finals. Cote d'Ivoire's Marie-José Talou had won the heat with 22.30 seconds, while the Bahamas' Sean Miller Oibo was second with 22.40 seconds. 20-year-old Nigerian had reached the semi-finals of the women's 100 meters event, where she ran an 11.07 on Sunday. Let's do a brief comparison, Mukail. to the time she's winning and the time the guys who are beating her. It's a whole lot of seconds in between. You know, I don't believe in her. I don't think she's going anywhere. I don't think she's bringing any medal home. But I'm trying to be mathematical about it now, realistic about it. We're looking at her making 11.07 seconds when Jose Marie Telou of Cote d'Ivoire, who is, of course, a medal hopeful for Cote d'Ivoire, is making like 10.4 something, 10.3 something. And we're talking about our own athlete who is practically grasping at a branch. She's drowning. She's 11.07, 11.010, 11.10, and then the guys who she's going to go up against in the semi-final and the finals are making, they're trying to make 10.030. She's going nowhere.
Yes. Unfortunately, the record is clear. Everyone else is aiming for 10 seconds or even less. And anyone who's on 11, when it comes to racing, it's like a world apart. Those vital seconds, when you watch them run, it's like your eyes, your breath, everything is held in a point in time, and you're thinking.
It's like the world freezes.
Yes.
Yeah, you know.
Is this person going to take the next step and beat a second? Because even a microsecond is a world away when it comes to racing.
True,
and if she can't make those vital seconds as her personal best, then she has no business even thinking about winning against these guys.
The Olympics is living to its billing at this point, and it's supposed to bring everyone together. Don't forget, during this particular Olympics, a Palestinian was sent home because he refused to fight an Israeli. Why bring politics into sports? But some good news for Israel. Favorite Max Whitlock retained his pommel horse title for Britain on Sunday to secure his 6th Olympic medal as Artem Dolgopiats won the men's floor exercise to give Israel only its 2nd ever Olympic gold and 1st in gymnastics. In the day of surprise at the Ariake Gymnastics Center, Rebecca Andrade took advantage of American Simone Biles' absence to win the vault, becoming the first female Brazilian gymnast to take gold. Belgian Nina De Waal also scored a first, winning the uneven bars to become the first woman from a country to win Olympic gymnastic gold. Now let's watch other highlights from the Olympics. Sight and sounds from the Tokyo Olympics. Of course, we saw the pole vaulters, we saw the bars, weightlifting. Yeah. Fantastic, really. But I'm surprised at this one. Not at the fact that Djokovic actually crashed out. The fact that Zverev won the gold. Wow. I think we've been focused on Tsitsipas for a little while. For now. Too long, really? Yeah, but Zverev had been quietly, for the last 2-3 years, Zverev had been quietly making himself a relevant name in tennis. And even though we are still... Zverev has done it almost like he's not leaving any footprints. As in, yes. He's been gradually coming out. We didn't see him coming. You know, while we've been talking about Tsitsipas potentially being the heir to Nadal's legacy, Zverev is potentially the heir to Djokovic. No doubt. World number 5, Alexander Zverev, won the biggest title of his career when he crushed the Russian Karen Khachanov 6-3, 6-1 to win the men's singles gold medal. 24-year-old who was yet to win a Grand Slam title was in stunning form as he demolished Khachanov in 79 minutes to become the first German man to win a singles Olympic gold. Long criticized for his perceived mental weakness in big matches, including losing to Dominic Thiem in last year's US Open final when he surrendered a 2-set lead. Zverev proved the doubters wrong this time. He remained in complete control, thundering backhand winners past his opponents, who could only look on as he settled for silver. In the women's doubles final, the Czech Republic's Barbara Greshkova and Katerina Simakova beat Belinda Bencic and Victoria Golubic of Switzerland 7-5, 6-1 to clinch their country's first Olympic gold in the sport. And more highlights. Wow. Wow. Okay. I won't say anything. But there's this thing with some countries across the world. A Belarusian athlete actually spoke against their coaches, talking about them talking down ladies, not treating the women right. She's a feminist, basically. She's talking about them, and the next thing the Belarusian government did was send her back home. And she refused to go. In fact, she was supposed to be involved in the 200 meters race yesterday. She wasn't allowed to do it. She was sent back home. She has refused to go. She has run to the Japanese government to say, I'm not going back. If I go back, there'll be more punishments for me because I spoke out. I need to stay here. So we've been told now by the IOC that she's safe and secure at a police station in Japan. But I think this is sad, but we'll come to that later. But this is totally against the human rights. The International Olympic Committee is looking into the gesture used by U.S. athlete Raven Saunders on the podium after she raised her arms into an X above her head in one of the most visible individual protests of the Games so far. The IOC is in contact with World Athletics, the international governing body for the sport, and the United States Olympic and Paralympic Committee, IOC. Spokesman Mark Adams told a news conference on Monday. Now, nicknamed Hulk in high school after the Marvel superhero, Saunders hauled the heavy ball 19.79 meters on her best efforts on a scorching day at the Olympic Stadium to win silver behind China's Gong Linyan.
Athletes, I know that's part of your process. If that step does not happen, then what step will you take?
Yeah, I obviously won't get into hypotheticals. All I will tell you is that we are in contact, obviously, with the United States Olympic and Paralympic Committee. We're also in touch with World Athletics. We are, not surprisingly, we are looking into the matter, and we'll now consider our next steps. So I don't want to preempt what those next steps would be. I think we need to fully understand what's going on and then take the decision from there. So that's where we are.
Is what she did an Olympic protest, just from the video or the pictures you've seen, and did she violate the rules? Thank you.
There I would
now, say... You can protest. I know Jesse Owens, he had a black glove and he raised his hand. But what does that mean? As in, they are taking it as a protest, but what does that protest mean? As in, what she's protesting against?
I don't want to speak for her, but I think we're still in an era of Black Lives Matter movement.
Yeah.
And I think...
when did the X sign become Black Lives Matter?
Well, I mean...
I thought you take the knee for that.
Yeah, but ever since there are different... aside from the fist and the knee, in the US, ever since the Black Panther movie came out, which swept the world with the X sign, became a kind of almost a greeting amongst Black Americans. And I don't want to speak for her, like I said, but it's very likely that, because I mean we're still trying to make sure a lot of Black athletes and a lot of Black people in America are still trying to make sure that the conversation doesn't just go away. Unfortunately, though, I would say that while the rule...
I don't know what this means. As in,
while the rule makes sense to avoid political protests at the Olympics, I feel that it might need exceptions being made.
She didn't speak out. She didn't do anything out of the ordinary for me. The X sign, I never know what. Well, maybe means something there. I don't know. Well, I was talking about the Belarusian athlete who refused to board a flight after she said she was taken to the airport by a team against her will. They said she's safe and secure in Tokyo, the International Olympic Committee said on Monday. Now, Kristina Simanovskaya, 24, spent the night at an airport hotel after she sought protection from Japanese police at Haneda Airport late on Sunday. IOC spokesperson Mark Adams said in a media conference a number of agencies were in contact with the sprinter, including the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, he added. Now, we hear she was due to race in the 200 meters heats at the Olympic Stadium on Monday, had her games cut short when she said she was taken to the airport to board a Turkish airline flight.
As you probably saw, we issued a short statement last night, early this morning. So I thought I might start, if okay with you, with another short statement, which obviously can be available later on. But let me read this, and then I think it hopefully clears up a few issues. So the IOC in Tokyo 2020 spoke to the Belarus athlete Kristina Simanovskaya directly last night. She was with the airport authorities at Haneda Airport and was at the time accompanied by a staff member of Tokyo 2020. She assured us and has assured us that she feels safe and secure. She spent the night at an airport hotel in a safe and secure environment. The IOC in Tokyo 2020 will continue their conversations with her and the Japanese authorities to determine the next step in the upcoming days.
Can you believe this?
Well, Belarus is going through a political, I don't want to call it an upheaval because it's not yet led to any form of civil war, but the opposition party are heavily moving towards against the sitting president, Alexander, I can't remember his last name, but so there's political issues going on in Belarus right now that the president is exerting himself as though he were a dictator. And recently there was news about him forcing down an airliner flying over Belarus in order to arrest a journalist. And so when something like this happens, an athlete speaking out, not against him, but against coaches, the reputation, because dictators have a nature of thinking everything is a slight against them.
True.
So, of course, this is what you get. It's so unfortunate.
But the young lady says, listen, if I go back there, I will be facing worse. It's like
she's absolutely correct.
So she's begging Japan to play. Now, thankfully, the United Nations Refugee Center have now come into the case. So she might be free from going to Belarus and maybe stay in Japan or somewhere else.
There's no way the Belarusian government will be able to force her back home.
They're trying to do that.
There's no legal recourse for them to exert any authority to bring her back home. She's a Belarusian citizen, but if another country offers her a chance to stay, the Belarusian government has no legal recourse because she's not a criminal.
The king of clay is back. World number 3 Rafael Nadal is ready to return to action for the first time in more than 6 weeks at the City Open in Washington as the Spaniard looks to put his French Open semi-final defeat by Novak Djokovic behind him. Nadal has played at Roland Garros, where he was knocked out by eventual champion Djokovic on June 11th in a 4-set thriller. Only his third loss on the Parisian clay, where he has won a record 13 titles. 35-year-old later announced his withdrawal from Wimbledon and the Tokyo Olympics, saying he took the decision after consultations with his team in a bid to prolong his career.
Yeah, of course, after Roland Garros, I needed some time off, some problems on my foot, and when I knew that I will have the chance, I will have to pull out, to not play Wimbledon and the Olympics, so I look at the calendar, and Washington was my next goal. No, and honestly, the tournament director, tournament owner have been very polite with me in every single moment. They show a lot of interest on me to play here in Washington. So I am very grateful for all of that, all their support.
Okay, Rafael Nadal. Before we go on the show, he's back, King of Clay.
Yes, we hope that we'll get to see more of him and that another injury will not.
He says he actually didn't go to the Wimbledon or to Roland Garros because he wanted to prolong his career. That's the word.
At this point, both him and Nadal have to pick their battles. When you're young, you want to play every single competition because you know eventually you will reach this point where you can't play every game. But unfortunately, that can create wear and tear that you don't rest from before you go into the next tournament. So by the time you're at this age, you definitely have to think through and strategize for each competition. If at a certain age, you may only be able to actually play one competition throughout the year.
Mokal Tinamu, I want to thank you very much for joining us on the show this morning.
Always a pleasure.
It's been Plus Sports and Plus TV Africa on a Monday morning. Join us same time tomorrow, same station on Plus Sports and Plus TV Africa. My name is Wale Scott. Like I always advise you at the end of every show, if not for anything, at least for your heart, do some sports.
don't concern yourself too much with what others think, because that will slow your own progress down.
If you've not worked in corporate world and you decide to start off your own thing, except you obviously get like the required skills, you definitely would have a lot of glitches along the way.
This my entrepreneurship journey. The greatest problem I have are dedicated staff. You see,
that's
are
a
willing
problem.
to get to the job before the job starts. God forbid they resume at 8. They will literally fall down and die.
There's a lot of entitlement that comes up in marriages, both
But
on the
if you're
side
married to me,
of
I'm so
men
entitled
and
to you.
women. No, I'm not saying we're not entitled, and that's